That's exactly what I think we need to find out. I mean, we need names and dates. We need to know who authored that memo. And those people, their names need to be made public. And if they are still employed, God forbid, at the FBI or the Department of Justice, they need to be fired. I think one of the things people voted for in electing the current president, who I was proud to support, is they voted to put a stop to that kind of discrimination, to that kind of abuse. I mean, I just think we need some accountability, don't you? I mean, I think if you look at what's happened in the last 4 years.
What kind of government sends informants into the pews on a Sunday morning? Because what we just witnessed in the Senate is one of the most shocking and disgraceful things I've heard in a long time, and that's saying something. A sitting senator revealed that under the Biden administration, the FBI was caught trying to recruit informants inside Catholic churches. This is the Prodigy Unfiltered.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ms. Dillon, good to see you. You're doing a great job. Thanks for being here. I want to ask you about discrimination of a somewhat different kind. That's discrimination on the basis of religion. In the last administration, I'm sure you remember, the FBI issued a memorandum in which it attempted to recruit informants, spies, into Catholic parishes and probably, frankly, other Christian churches on the basis of these churches' theology. They designated and they created a list, an actual list. The United States government created a list of Catholic parishes and groups it did not like, branded them as traditionalist Catholics, I guess that's now a slur, and tried to recruit spies into these churches, which is unbelievable to me. I mean, you want to talk about a violation of one's civil rights. To my knowledge, that memo has never been formally withdrawn. The Attorney General of the United States at the time, Merrick Garland, sat where you're sitting, first denied it, then attempted to defend it. It is, in fact, totally indefensible. My question to you is, what can be done about discrimination like this by our own governmental institutions? I think one of the things people voted for in electing the current president, who I was proud to support, is they voted to put a stop to that kind of discrimination, to that kind of abuse of our own citizens by our own government. And I just submit to you, of all the abuses of the Biden era, and there were a lot, there's nothing lower than trying to recruit spies into churches to inform on your countrymen because you don't like what's being preached from the pulpit? I mean, this is insane stuff, and they were using the FBI to do it. Can something be done about this to hold accountable the people within the DOJ and the FBI who perpetrated what I frankly think are crimes? I mean, what can we do about this?
Well, Senator, first I want to assure you that the policy that you just described would appear to be a dead letter today. We are certainly not doing anything of that nature in the Civil Rights Division or, to my knowledge, throughout the United States Department of Justice. Good. To the contrary, I would say, and I've been a civil liberties lawyer in favor of religious liberties for over 3 decades. This is the most religion-friendly Department of Justice in United States history. In the Civil Rights Division so far, we have taken action to side with a Catholic coach in the Rolovich case who was fired for refusing to take the COVID vaccine. We intervened in a lawsuit in Washington State, also where Rolovich is from, to challenge that state's discrimination against Catholic clergy, enforcing and trying to pierce their priest penitent privilege, and that law was just enjoined this week by a federal judge in Washington State. We have opened up numerous, in just less than 100 days, Religious Land Use and Institutionalized Persons Act, majority for the Christian community, but also for Jewish, Muslim, Buddhist, and other faiths as well. And we have opened up investigations into anti-Semitism throughout the United States. And I have been told by Jewish leaders who sat in my conference room that they had similar conversations with my predecessor because this problem is not a new problem, unfortunately. It is a problem that has been going on for years. And while my predecessor kindly nodded and listened to their complaints, nothing happened. Things are happening in this administration, and our door is open to people of all faiths to come and tell us what is happening, zoning violations, discrimination. Certainly if the government is spying on them, that would be outrageous, and I would be interested to know names and dates, and we would begin an investigation into that, sir.
Yeah, thank you. That's exactly what I think we need to find out. I mean, we need names and dates. We need to know who authored that memo. And those people, their names need to be made public. And if they are still employed, God forbid, at the FBI or the Department of Justice, they need to be fired. I mean, I just think we need some accountability, don't you? I mean, I think if you look at what's happened in the last 4 years, you look at how religious rights were trampled upon. Let's not forget during COVID, who was shut down? You remember, who was shut down during COVID? The churches, the synagogues. Who was open? Oh, well, the marijuana dispensaries, they were open. Democrat Party donors, all the corporations that gave the Democrat Party, they were all open. But churches closed, synagogues closed. And then to have our own FBI recruiting informants into our churches, it's outrageous. I think we need to know who wrote these memos, who approved them, where were they distributed, and I think people need to be fired for it. And then I think, if possible, they need to be prosecuted for it. Don't you think? I mean, don't you think it's time for some accountability? I think we've got to turn the page and do better, sure, but we've got to hold accountable the people who did this in the first instance, or they'll just do it again.
Well,
They'll just do it again.
Senator, I agree with you. I mean, I was privileged to win between my law firm and my nonprofit 3 cases at the United States Supreme Court during COVID to protect the rights of Christians to be able to pray in my state of California. And the governor is still the governor, and there has been no accountability in that state for the gross violations of every person's right of faith. And so I hope that voters ultimately hold the elected leaders accountable, but certainly people who grossly violated the First Amendment those are names I'd like to know, and we will look into that as a result of.
This is my last thing, Mr. Chairman, and I thank you for holding this hearing. I just think that you're right about voters, and voters did they voted for a change in November. They voted for accountability, and now we've got to give it to them. And I just want to, I know you're not in charge of the FBI, but I just want to send a clear message to everybody who is. There has got to be some accountability for what has happened with our government. There has got to be accountability for how it was abused. And religious believers were abused in the last 4 years, over and over and over. And we've talked about it, and we've held hearings on it, and now it's time to do something about it. And the people who perpetrated these outrageous abuses of our First Amendment rights, they need to be held accountable. They need to be held accountable, and they need to be held accountable as soon as possible. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Let me repeat that: recruiting spies to sit in the pews and report on American citizens, all based on their faith and theology. This isn't some Cold War Soviet story. This happened in the United States of America, on our watch, on American soil. The senator didn't mince words, and God bless him for that. He called it exactly what it is: a grotesque violation of civil rights and a total betrayal of the Constitution. We're not just talking about some policy disagreement. This is the federal government weaponizing law enforcement against religion, against the faithful, against you and me. You want to know what real domestic extremism looks like? It looks like unelected bureaucrats sitting in a back room, making a list, an actual list, of churches they don't like, labeling them traditionalist Catholics like it's some kind of slur. Since when is believing in tradition a crime? And the memo? It hasn't even been formally withdrawn. The Attorney General sat there, flat out denying it, then tried to defend it. That's the kind of arrogance you get when no one is ever held accountable. The senator laid it out plainly. Churches were shut down during COVID. Synagogues closed. But marijuana dispensaries? Open. Big Democrat donor corporations? Open. Isn't that funny? The places that feed the soul, silenced. The places that feed the machine? Business as usual. This isn't accidental. It's targeted. It's strategic. And it's disgusting. Let me be clear, this is exactly what tyranny looks like. When the federal government can't win the culture war, it tries to infiltrate the church. It tries to silence the pulpit. It tries to turn the people against their own community, against their own beliefs. That is not democracy. That is not justice. That is soft totalitarianism. And if you think this ends with Catholic churches, you're dreaming. Today it's them. Tomorrow it's Protestant churches, Jewish synagogues, maybe even your Bible study group. You think they're going to stop unless we make them stop. And listen, the DOJ official tried to spin it. He came in there talking about how this is the most religion-friendly DOJ in history. Really? Then why are we just now hearing about this FBI memo? Why hasn't anyone been fired? Why haven't the authors of this anti-Christian operation been dragged out and held accountable? The American people deserve to know who wrote this, who approved it, and who buried it. If those people are still getting taxpayer money, they need to be terminated and prosecuted. Period. This isn't just about politics, friends. This is about freedom of worship. This is about the First Amendment, the very core of our country. If we let the government decide what is and isn't acceptable religion, well then we're no better than the regimes we used to fight against. And let's not forget, these same people shut down churches and criminalize prayer gatherings while celebrating protests and riotous mobs in the streets. They have no moral high ground. So what do? We demand answers. We demand accountability. Call your senators. Share this video. Wake your neighbors up. Because if they can do this in secret, imagine what they're doing in the open. And let me say this to the bureaucrats hiding behind their desks in D.C. We see you. We're not backing down. And you will be held accountable. Not just by voters. Not just by Congress. By the American people and by the truth. Thanks for watching, Patriots. If you love God, liberty, and this great country, then don't let this story fade away. Like, share, and comment below with the words, "We will not be silent." And to all my fellow believers out there, keep the faith. Because they may try to infiltrate our churches, but they will never steal our spirit. This is Prodigy Unfiltered. Like, share, subscribe, and stay in the fight. God bless America.